It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show. And you're with Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. 2020 Best Podcast Award News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner for the Korean Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host the Cookies only online show with Dash and Father, as well as Care. And since 2020, I've worked in charge directly and redirected to over 800,000 fathers, dads, and children around the world. And I am a featured content creator of the Indie Soup TV Content Creators Network, run by a good associate, good friend, Dr. Patsy, out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and that content network is about 27 independent content creators, and it has reached over 1 million people, and will also sit on your advisory board. So if you want to find out more about Industry Media TV, there is the link, industrymedia.tv. We are broadcasting live Saturday, May 26th. Yeah, it is the last Saturday and Friday. And if I'm not trying to 100% Dr. Vibe ish, been dealing with a little bit of a sinus infection thing over the last week or so. For the first time in many years, I went into a walking clinic during the week because we had to get out of town. Maybe don't usually go that route, but it's lingering. So it's getting better. I'm not there yet, but you know what? We're here. We're making it happen. And most importantly, I don't want to miss when Cesar Ndema-Moussa comes on the stage and Black Canada topic. So, hey, whatever way possible, I got to make that happen. What is up, Cesar?
I'm very good, Dr. Vibe. Thanks for having me as always. Hi, everyone. Thank you always for your support of the show and of myself. Thank you.
Good stuff. How is family with you?
Family is doing good. Nice weather in Ottawa. Not too hot, but sunny. So I'm here with you as the family is playing at the park.
Very nice. Yeah, we got nice weather in Charles today. Not too hot, not too cold. Just really nice and dry. And the windows down. You have to use air conditioning, which is always a nice thing. That not, well, somewhat natural air. I don't know if it's fully natural air. But what's been going on in your world? What have you been up to lately?
Truly, just a lot of work, business travel, and advancing the cause in a professional lens, educating professionals, public servants, and leaders. Also working with other Black leaders in different sectors, as we see the increase of the white lash, aka white backlash, against EDI, anti-racism education, etc. So we got to be organized. It's not enough to complain, and it's not about protest for the sake of protest. It's about organizing ourselves to advance the cause of our people.
And where do you see the state of equity, diversity, and inclusion at this time?
I see it at a critical moment. We're talking about this year, 2024, where you know populism and white supremacy, notably in terms of propaganda, are on the rise. And I mean, we will talk about it notably on the show today, talking about Trump, just as of George Floyd, but really a matter of you know a society in crisis, a society in crisis in terms of values. And here, I don't want anyone to think it's a finger pointed at, let's say, white people or non-black people per se. It's also regarding black people. It's a society in crisis on the basis of values, values that we claim to be about and where we stand. Even if you just look at 2 years ago, what happened to women's rights in America regarding abortion rights, whether you are for or against abortion, it clearly indicates the crisis in society in terms of values, and as such, where does one chooses to stand in regards to the mentality, but also the actions they choose to show for it.
How much impact do you feel the upcoming American presidential election and elections will have on EDI, not only in the United States, but also in Canada or maybe even globally?
How much impact the US election will be having on EDI? Well, we have two presidential candidates, President Joe Biden and the former cook in chief, number 45, Trump, where basically you're talking about two opposite views where, how can I put it, Trump just represents the reactionary forces to positive change. And I really say positive because um, I can absolutely understand how some people can feel regarding PCI, regarding change, notably regarding the lost sense of religion, such as of the increase of LGBTQ issues and addressing mental health. I can understand it. The problem is someone like Trump, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about those issues in terms of truly believing in them. More than one politician have already mentioned that Trump is a fake Republican. He's just in there in terms of saying anything and everything to play on people's angers, and as such, as a populist, to say and do anything for him to get back in power. And this is where people who, for social, traditional, family reasons, etc., could be conservatives, such as, for example, the black community. The black community is highly socially conservative. Uh, this is where many become fooled by this man. And I mean, you just look at his personal life. He's not conservative. I mean, someone was saying, what is it again? 5 kids by 3 different wives and 91 counts of accusation. If this was a black man, nobody would take a chance on him. Nobody would even think of voting for this man. If this was a Muslim man, you can only imagine. But no, this is blonde hair Donald Trump. You know, so the state of India really rests on this type of issues. And I'm not a hypocrite. Absolutely, Joe Biden does also have a past in terms of segregation, um, you know, pro segregation comments. But we cannot deny that he has evolved. And I'm not saying this because he was vice president to Barack Obama. We cannot deny that he has evolved, not because he's a Democrat, but because he has shown over the years a certain evolution in his mindset, in his thinking. To what extent? That's very subjective. But none can deny the racism that comes out of Trump for so many decades. And I'm not just talking here about the exonerated slash Central Park Five. I'm talking about comments in regards to Charlottesville white supremacists, just as regarding the black community as a whole, and even the very black politicians who support him, such as that Senator Rick Scott. Um, I can't. He makes me laugh all the time. He's like he is that stereotype of that black man in a white environment. So, yeah, Trump is a clear racist.
Which part you love it, guys? I was thinking back to South Carolina.
Forgive me, Dr. Vibe. I couldn't hear you over
Yeah.
the audio.
No. Are you talking about the black senator from South Carolina?
Yes, yes, him. The one who, the one who backstabbed Nikki Haley, who had supported him for him to go support Trump. I mean, it's politics. Don't get me wrong, but the particular thing about him, and of course, I'm saying this because you are black, is how he always comes out as the
Tim,
black buffoon in the room.
Tim Scott.
Tim Scott, yes, I said Rick Scott. No, that's another politician. Tim Scott, indeed, yes.
And there's a thing, another thing that really wasn't said much in the news this past week. Nikki Haley gave endorsement to 245.
Forgive me.
Nikki Haley endorsed 45.
Yes, absolutely. It really speaks to the nature of politics, where a man like Trump can insult a woman's ethnicity, a woman's family, call her names, But in the name of politics, aka interest and powers, there she goes supporting him. But let us be fair to her. Donald Trump had such behavior also towards politicians such as Marco Rubio and why am I forgetting his name? The Canadian from Texas. Um, the yeah,
I can't remember the name though.
yes, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but yes, Donald Trump has had such behavior towards other politicians who basically, for the personal interest, they come to kiss the ring, kiss the ring to him. You know.
Well, since we're talking about American politics, let's slide in it. 45 and black voters.
Yes, the Trump rally that he held in the South Bronx to Black and Latin voters um, were basically, uh, trying to chip away at some of the base of Joe Biden. Um, it is estimated, if I'm correct, that back in 2020, am I correct? 2020, that he got 12%, 12% black vote and 23% Latino vote, but now it is expected he could be able to double those numbers due to great dissatisfaction over the economy. And we see this same Donald Trump, and this to me, and I think this is why it's important for us to talk about this. As I've told our people before, I am neither, how do you call that in terms of Western politics? I'm neither left wing nor right wing. I'm not here to be a Democrat or a Republican. I am neither of those. I'm a Pan Africanist. But it speaks heavily to the consciousness and notably political consciousness, acumen, and racial identity of our people when a man like Trump can have so many black people gathered to listen to him despite having such a history of anti black racism. Documented. This is not in black and white. This is not from the 19th century. This is from the last few decades. And yet, having so many black people showing up there, you know, to support, to wear those MAGA hats, to basically look, there's racism in the Democratic Party, absolutely 100%. The difference with the Republicans is that the Republicans are more out of the closet, they're more openly racist. So, how are you going to go support someone like that who, like, just look at even the article you put about the two rappers who showed up accusing a gang murder plot. Trump would not hesitate to send both of them, as the exonerated Central Park Five.
No,
You
no, no,
know,
no, okay, yeah. Just people forget that, but I actually want to read a bit of this story because I find this fascinating. Toward the end of the rally in the Bronx on Thursday, that his campaign speech started to go for his highlighted support among Black Hispanic voters. 45 called on two hip hop artists who have been accused of participating in violent gang warfare, fueled in part by their music. The rappers Chef G and Sleepy Hollow were among several guests invited to grace the court before the trial, a presumption of the presidential nominee. After they did so, 45 spent the gas station and then complimented Chef G ordering dual crusty grill. Quote, I like those seats. I want to find out where you did where you did. I gotta get my feet like that, unquote he said. Quote, I want that to happen to me. But 45, who early in his speech brought in the story rule of law in New York City, denounced urban crime and touted his allegiance to the police, did not address the charges of criminalization, counts of conspiracy to commit murder, and weapons possession. Oh. President Kennedy recently described his recently granted people in the streets of Delgado family. Fine. But his noted which was clipped and shared on social media by the Trump campaign and many hip hop media and people groups. It was not a one-off event, but one of a series part of 45's blood event that come to overshares the black voters, especially black men, including the black voters to praise the campaign Joe Biden and the Democrats. Trump insists that Biden hiding his best interest in immigration and communism, disproportionately harming them. But he is also including traffic with stereotypes of black Americans. Indicted 4 times in standing trial of false charges in Manhattan, the former president earlier this year told a group of black Republicans that the civil charges against him were key reason black people will like him. He has also said that his popularity among black people rose when his Atlanta mugshot was published because they could relate to him. Earlier this year, Trump went to a super-focused convention in Philadelphia, talking glorifying the Trump-branded speeches to a young collective of very positive traffic in typical using around. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I like.
and he finds black people to support him. It's that's what I mean. This is something I keep saying in terms of so many of the issues in the black community. It's not about Trump. It's ultimately about us. Racial psychotherapy. How can you go support someone who basically has such a long-standing, decades-long history of racism towards your own group? Racism in terms of housing, racism in terms of media and justice, racism in terms of constant stereotyping and portrayals of blacks. At the end of the day, of course, he doesn't respect black people. Truthfully, he doesn't respect, Trump doesn't respect anyone. He doesn't respect his own wife. He doesn't respect women. He doesn't respect religious people. It's funny to see all these evangelicals supporting Trump when Trump literally is the definition of what they tell you at church not to do. Trump does it all. So it's not it's not like Trump is particularly anti-black per se. But as we are black people, he has a long history regarding anti-black racism. And yet, he finds black people to support him. That's hard to believe, but that's the case.
Let me ask you to start some real black voters in the United States. More, more and more are indicating they do not vote at all. What are your thoughts on black Americans saying, you know what, I don't want to vote at all. I even can't vote.
I will never tell. So it may come off contradictory between. There's an expression that says between the plague and cholera, what would you pick? The worse or the better of two devils per se. But look, Biden and Trump don't have the same record in terms of presidency. You see, let me put it to you like this: 20 years ago, most people thought George Bush was such a bad president, thought he was so, I don't know if I should say stupid. I'm not trying to insult George Bush, but I'm putting myself in the time. He was so, let's say, lacking class at the job of being president compared to the tenure of people like Bill Clinton before him and even his own, especially his own father before. He didn't have that presidential tenure at the job. Donald Trump presidency makes us appreciate that much more Barack Obama. No drama, a certain sense of, class and tenure, irreproachable. And then we see someone like Trump. So then when you ask about people choosing not to vote, I understand why so many black people would have dissatisfaction with the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party overwhelmingly takes black votes for granted. When we say black vote, let's be honest, black women's vote for granted. And as such, there is a growth of anger, notably among black men, not just regarding the economy, but also the notion of traditional gender roles. You will notice far too many black men out there speaking about women needing to be submissive and, women losing their place, etc., etc., which are just reinforced misogyny due to the black church and the black mosque, if we truly speak. And we can even talk about the Black Temple, for Black Jews. So uh, I absolutely understand how the change of times is causing this. How can I put it? This type of tensions among Black voters, making many feel like the Democratic Party is just a continuation of what they perceive as the decline of society. But these are the same Black people that, without the Democratic Party giving advancing the cause of Black people, because let's just speak truly, since Brother Martin Luther King, we will still be living in segregation. We will still be living in segregation. And I know some people will say it had its benefits, but the truth is this: segregation would have produced a lot more George Floyd. So I can understand how someone, a Black voter, may choose not to vote. And at the end of the day, personally, whether it's Biden or whether it's Trump, that's not what matters. It's where is our community? Where is our race? Allow me to bring back something which is growing more and more in my mind in terms of my readings, in terms of my conferences, in terms of my Pan Africanism. We are halfway in 2024. If white Christians, just as white Muslims, decided to colonize Africa and or put Black people back in slavery, what could Black people really do to prevent it? So it's not about Trump, it's not about Biden, it's not about France or even America. It's about our community and our race first. And this is where too many of our people lose the mark and become easily volatile and swayed. And that's why someone like Trump can't respect us. He will have far more difficulty getting the Jewish vote because they are more united as a community and they are more aware of his behavior and his antics in regards to the Jewish community, notably inviting openly anti Semites at the White House. And yet, Black people easily forget about that.
Debate next month. They're going to be debating next month.
Yeah,
So it's going to be very, very interesting because, well, 45 occupied with one trial right now. So he's got a lot going on.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That debate will be heavily followed, uh, notably to consider what will happen in regards to his Manhattan trial. Will he be found guilty or will there be a mistrial? I don't think there will be an acquittal. Despite what we can agree on, and it really sounds like a Shakespearean play with Michael Cohen, the Jewish lawyer, caught lying left and right and even stealing. It really sounds like a Shakespearean play. But truth of the matter is this: it could be a mistrial, but I think it could really be a guilty verdict. So many of the elements are there. Someone may want to accuse me of listening a little bit too much to CNN in saying that, but the point of the matter is simply this: Trump definitely did have a motive.
Strengthens the audio sound on my end, but I think I have to fix up. Am I sounding better now? No.
Forgive me, I didn't hear that. Sorry.
I can't hear the star at all. I can't hear your cigar.
You
Oh, hold
you
on.
can't hear
Hold on.
me?
I think give me a second. Give me a second. Okay. Where? Where? Oh, I don't know why, but nothing. Okay. We're going to take a break.
Okay.
The audio. Take a break.
You know, and that's what I feel like. You feel like you're the Harriet Tubman of the mind.
I
I
am.
feel like I'm the I'm one of the Harriet Tubmans of intelligent Black people. Like I want to liberate y'all from like being left behind and ignored and oblivion. Now, really, the
Yeah.
rappers get all the attention. You know, seriously, does anybody else feel this way? Like ignorant Black people, they'll be all up, you know, getting all the headlines on the Shade Room
Overly
and
sexualized Black
over
folks.
like the twerkers and the you know just people that you know don't always represent the best of us. You know the diversity. You know like people like Dr. Vibe. Like everybody should know about people like Dr. Vibe.
They
Dr.
really
Vibe is
should.
he's trying to do good work for Black people. Dr. Vibe from Toronto. Good to see you, my brother. Dr. Vibe. Everybody follow Dr. Vibe. He has a great show. He's very good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for him. The men who are also doing the same thing. I see Dr. Vibe in here. He's a great brother. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. He's a smart brother in Canada, and we need to follow smart people. So follow Dr. Vibe. If you see him in the chat, and Dr. Vibe, say your name in the chat so people can see you. I want you to click on his name, and I want you to go follow him, please, because I want these men and women that are doing the right things to get the support they deserve. Hey, Dr. Vibe, how you doing, brother? Again, I like I always do. I gotta say, everybody should go follow Dr. Vibe. He's got a great show. Dr. Vibe, I know Dr. Vibe's got a kingdom because I see your channel. I see you pouring into that every day. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. Look him up, Dr. Vibe, Vibe. He's a great friend of me and my wife, and I love this guy.
Okay, so let me hop into this. What's up, Dr. Vibe? How you doing? Everybody, if you see Dr. Vibe in the chat, everybody go follow the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Vibe is a real smart brother and a good human being. I like the guy a lot, and he's very intelligent. And I think everyone should pay attention to what he's got going on. We got to shine the spotlight on the intelligent Black people out here that are really doing the good work. Don't just pay attention to the rappers and the celebrities. You know, a lot of these people are losers. Your true winners are your people in your community that are really having your back. You know, helping us to have stronger families and a stronger community. So Dr. Vibe is in that category. So you might see the Dr. Vibe show in this chat. If you see him, please go follow him. Okay. All right. So anyway.
All right, we are back. I think my audio is better now.
Do you hear me? Do you hear me, Dr. Vibe? Hello, hello.
All
Dr.
right.
Vibe,
do you hear me?
So much better, my brother. What did you do?
There we go. It's one of those age-old things called unplugging the cable and plugging the cable back in.
So much better. So much better.
So, and also what's being said here, yes, Ryan O'Neill Knight says better. So we are better now, and I think that resolves things. So thank you, Cesar, for telling me I wasn't sounding good. Thank you, Ryan. So we just did. That's why we have audio breaks or show breaks to see if we can fix things on the fly. So that has been done. So you are watching.
Salutations to Brother Ryan. A support to both of us. Yes.
Absolutely. So a few quick things. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, on Instagram. If you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I am on, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the dr, vibeshow.com. Also, email-wise, if you want to get in touch with Cesar, president at Roots and Culture Canada, and then Facebook, Cesar Remy Emery. So, Cesar, since I'm sounding better now, I'm glad to hear. So let's go to our continued conversation. And this was something that you brought up before we went on live. I had heard a story about it. And then when you brought it to the table, I said, okay, let's talk some more about it. France and the uprising in New Caledonia. Talk to us and why is this? Why should we be paying attention to this?
Well, Dr. Vibe, as we see, we have, let's get controversial from the start. We have many Black people right now who are supporting the cause of Palestine in the name of fighting against white supremacy, fighting against colonization. Okay, no problem. How many of our Black people are supporting the cause of New Caledonia? Black indigenous people will look like them. And I can give another example. How many of our Black people are supporting the cause of West Papua? We have to talk about West Papua. Black indigenous people will look like them. Almost none. I'm not even talking here about Haiti and Congo, which most people know. Most Black people know the issues regarding Haiti and Congo. But here in New Caledonia, a law was voted in France to give more power to French residents, aka white residents, in New Caledonia. Where is New Caledonia? New Caledonia is on the eastern side of Australia in the Pacific Ocean. In the area where you have Vanuatu, you have Fiji. That's where you find the series of islands known as New Caledonia, Nouvelle Calédonie. The indigenous people there have basically been living under a state, and that's what it is, of colonization by the French. Colonization by the French, which also comes with, you know, substandard living conditions, not just in relation to what is called the metropolis, so the center of the empire, which is France, Paris, but really they have been living under substandard condition to the white French residents on their islands. It is the very same when you look at the situations of Black people in Martinique, just as in Guadeloupe, which are in the Caribbean. So there have been this violence, and the level of violence, I can tell you, today is Saturday, unless I'm wrong. No, actually, I'm not wrong. This week, I believe it was Wednesday, French President Emmanuel Macron was in New Caledonia. He flew 22 hours, if I'm specific, from Paris to Nouméa, the capital of New Caledonia, to address the issues. And it was to a point where, if I'm not mistaken, in a week, you had basically at least one killed person a day. And by killed, I also include here white policemen, because of the violence along the destruction that is happening in terms of the buildings and the businesses on the island. It's an important story for us to be aware of, because we have to stop thinking that colonization ended in the 60s. With the year of Africa, 1960. It didn't end in 1960, just as segregation did not end in 1964 with the voting rights and, MLK signing them. No. Colonization is ongoing. And France that has been kicked out of the Sahel region in, Western Sahel region in Africa by the three countries of Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. France is still a colonial power. So France is, just as we were talking about the Republicans and Democrats, the Republicans are just more out of the closet in terms of racism. France is more out of the closet in terms of its ongoing neo-colonialism. Absolutely. Great Britain, USA, and even Canada are neo-colonial powers. Yes, that's true. France is just more out of the closet about it. And this type of violence, just imagine, you live in your ancestral home and a decision taken 22 hours flight away in Paris is giving the white residents on your island, the white residents who came there due to colonization, giving them more power, more rights than you. That's the true reason why we have such uprising. Of course, there are extremists. We can talk about the extremists, but at the base of it, there is a very legitimate anti-colonial movement, and movement that really has been asking for negotiations. It wasn't even about a complete split from France. It's New Caledonia is said to be a semi-autonomous region. Semi-autonomous is a fanciful term to actually still say that you're not free. You're semi-autonomous. It's kind of like hitting 18 years old and you told you're an adult, but you still have a curfew at 9 p.m. You are almost an adult. You're not fully an adult. if you still have a curfew. You know, so this is the situation there. And I just ask for our black people. I'm not here to criticize black people for supporting the cause of Palestine. I just remind them that just as all other people do, support the cause of your peoples first and foremost. Because no matter how you try to put it, it's not the Arabs or the Muslims or the Palestinians who are going to support the cause of New Caledonia. It's not them who are going to support the cause of West Papua. It's not them who are going to support the cause of Haiti. They're not going to support the cause of Congo. Why are we supporting their cause when we are not supporting the cause of people who look like us?
It's a very good question. If you and when you get a chance to ask that question to people who look like us, what do they say?
There's a great denial, and I give the perfect the argument of so many, which is to claim that everything being connected, injustice, and then too many of our black people love quoting MLK or Mandela, whichever suits them. Injustice somewhere is injustice everywhere. Non-black people don't think like that. Non-black people don't think like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Absolutely, of course, there have been non-black people supporting black causes. The fight against slavery, aka abolition, there have been white people. I'll talk about John Brown, the 19th century white revolutionary. Absolutely, he's one of my heroes. The fight against Leopold's Congo in the early 20th century. In my trainings and conference, as I do every week, I talk about that white American missionary. And I oppose missionaries, but I elevate Mrs. Alice Seeley Harris as one of my heroes. In the 60s, just as even during Black Lives Matter, there have been Asians who have walked in support of Black lives. In the 60s and 70s, the yellow, you can even Google it, Yellow Peril supporting Black Power. Just as in the 2010s, Black Lives Matter, 2020, Asians, absolutely. There have been people, notably in Palestine, in support of Ferguson, 2014, in support of George Floyd. Yes. But let's be honest, as a whole, that's not the way it works. Black people are seen too often supporting the cause of everybody and everyone, and needed to be reminded that there are causes of people who look like them that they're not even aware of. How many black people even know, are even aware, forget even aware, have even heard the name of West Papua? How many black people are aware? How many black people could put on a map where is Congo?
That'd be an interesting test.
See what I mean? So it becomes an issue. You see, the problem is not supporting the cause of other people. And I say this to people all the time, there's nothing wrong with supporting the cause of other people. If your neighbor's house is on fire, you should have to go put down that fire if you can. There's a fundamental problem if you can admit that if your house is on fire, the neighbor is not going to come. And this is what we're seeing. This is exactly what we're seeing. I mean, I can give the perfect example of the fight against apartheid. Of course, you had white citizenry in European and Western nations that rose against apartheid. But you see, this is a result of not only the power of the media to influence people in terms of what should they care about, but also, because this is very important, this is a fundamental difference between Palestine versus Congo, Haiti, West Papua, New Caledonia, Somalia. There are no white people being victimized here. So the media are not relaying that. It's not impacting whiteness. It's either only black people dying or it's black people dying at the hands of other black people, aka they don't care. I can't say I'm a Pan-Africanist and not care.
I think I think I'm going to say a thing. I believe that part of this is also media control. because the media tells us what is an important situation, and I think that it's always interesting, as I'm glad you answered that question, why people who look like us, someone can be so emphatic about Middle East, Ukraine, etc. But when you talk about the examples you're chatting about here today, silence.
And I have to be honest, Dr. Vibe, for you, you know this, but for our listeners, let me not be a hypocrite. I have supported the cause of Palestine for many years. I actually the cause of Israel before supporting the cause of Palestine. Um, when you have studied history, religion, and politics, you are drawn to issues in the Middle East. So it's not a secret to anyone. But then came a time when it started to creep on my mind. When I discovered about the fate of West Papua, well, it was weird how I knew so much about Palestine and have been on so many protests and walks, whether it was against the war in Iraq or about Palestine. And here I was, not knowing about West Papua. I mean, we have a great hero over there in West Papua by the name of Benny Wenda. How many of our Black people even? We have the cause of Black people in Mauritania. How many of our Black people know that Black Moors? So we have Black people in Canada, the US, and even Europe talking about the Moors and the Moors, talking about 1,000 years ago, and they taught Europeans how to bathe. That's not true, by the way. That's just a that's a common lie among Black people online. The actual Moors living today are still enslaved. The Black Moors, the real name is the Haratins, are still enslaved by the white Moors, whose name is the Bedans, the light skins. They're still enslaved today. Where is the outrage of our Black community? Where are these crooks, Black pastors and Black priests addressing the Black imams? Because they're all Muslims. They're not talking about it. They're not going to talk about it. They're not going to denounce it. Iram Abed, the leader of the leader of the anti-slavery movement in Mauritania, Biram Abed. How many of our Black people know his name? But they can drop names regarding the Israel-Palestine conflict. They can drop names regarding Putin and Ukraine. One of the funniest things I remember as I was going into my Pan-Africanism, I remember this so well because it really hit me. I remember so well how you can find Black people arguing over communism and capitalism, and this was notably in terms of Black Marxist. I can't remember the name of the movement, Black Marxist. When have you ever heard white people or Asian people or white Arabs arguing over two different movements of Black thought? I've never heard non-white people argue over whether Booker T. Washington was more right over W.E.B. Du Bois, or whether Du Bois was more right than Marcus Garvey, or whether the MLK was more right than Malcolm X. You see what I mean? These are the things that really speak to issues about our race.
Right.
This is not just ideology, it's about how we see ourselves. And we can't always point to the media. We have to address ourselves. It starts within the homes. It starts within the homes in terms of how we look and care about one another, without always needing the non-Black / white lens over us, over our judgment, over our actions. Because non-Black people are not there wondering, what would Black people think about us?
Good question. Good question. What do you see for the future in regards to France and New Caledonia?
So, in a matter of, I think it's in a week, I think it's June 9th or less than yeah, in a week, a few days, there will be European elections. So, European elections are basically, they're important, but they don't have the value that it sounds like because Europe is not actually a true political. There will be European elections that basically will help to direct the course of certain European nations, including France. And then in 3 years, you will have the French presidential elections. The way I see it, the importance given to immigration, but also integration of non white people in France will be crucial in the fate of New Caledonia. But for this, Black people in France have to show solidarity. That if I can paint you the issue of solidarity and Black consciousness in France, like I was saying, you will find hundreds of Black people protesting in France for Palestine. And when they had the protest, first of all, it's very rare that there's a protest for Congo, but when there is a protest for Congo, you're lucky if there's even 1/10 of the people that were there protesting for Palestine. So we're talking about Congo, which is actually in the news, which people have heard there's a situation in Congo. Imagine for New Caledonia. The violence, unfortunately, we will have Black people be brutalized. And again, let me reiterate, this is not a support to extremists. I'm talking about the legitimate political contestation over colonial measures. I'm not talking about the extremists who are killing people simply because they're white or simply because they're policemen or looting and burning. That's not what I'm talking about. Criminals are criminals, period. I'm talking about the legitimate opposition to colonization. Unfortunately, they will be victim of violences and state killing, very likely, because their fate will go down in silence. I mean, we're in 2024 and France still has colonies. That kind
Yeah,
of tells you.
really. That tells you something right there. That tells you something. Hopefully, this will get resolved peacefully. We don't know. We don't know, but we'll see.
Hopefully.
All right. We're broadcasting on the 26th of May, 2024. Yesterday was the 4-year anniversary of George Floyd being killed by policemen. 4 years in, how does the landscape look? How does the Black landscape look?
Well, this is what we were talking about at the very beginning. 4 years after George Floyd, the white lash against EDI, anti-Black racism education, is at a high. You just look at the confrontation that happened in Congress between AOC, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. She's not Black, she's a Latina, but she is in the bloc of minorities and notably supported by Black people. Her confrontation against Marjorie Taylor Greene, this white ultra MAGA pro Trump. I lack the proper adjectives to describe her, but she is a cliche of a certain type of white person. When you look at that confrontation, it kind of helps to show you the climate of society in terms of the division, but also in terms of progress that has been made. Has there been progress? I dare to say yes, there has been progress. But concrete progress, that's relative. Many police departments still speak of increase to the budget in regards to policing instead of increase to social services, increase to mental health, community development. So yes, I can already see some people coming at me talking about some of the, let's be blunt, Black people will have gotten rich off stealing funding, the controversy, whether it be about the Facebook EDI lead person who got condemned to 5 years in jail, or the I can't remember if she was the president, but the lady from Black Lives Matter, and the story about her mission. Those are distractions. The real conversation is about society and regarding 4 years after George Floyd. Where is society at? And I have to say, we still live in a society where Dr. Vibe, you, as me, as any black man, but let's not forget our sisters. We talk about George Floyd. We can also talk about Sandra Bland. We can also talk about black youth, aka Trayvon Martin. We can talk about blackness as a whole. 4 years later, the truth of the matter is this: we can still be killed at the hands of not just a racist white police person, and let's be honest, not all black cops are good cops, but we can be killed and destroyed at the hands of any representative of the states who is racially motivated against us, against our black skin, our black body, and our black mind. The progress that have been made, and I should say the progresses, are on shaky ground. It's not solid ground. When 2 years after George Floyd, we can clearly see that women, and truly white women, lost the right to abortion for half of the United States, it is not hard to imagine that black people could literally lose rights that they may think are solid, such as notably the right to vote, which is absolutely not a solid right. And we can see this how in this year of election, the mistrust that the Republicans are implanting into the electoral system is just part of a long series of, putting distrust, disinformation, and dishonesty in regards to the system to stall, but truly to go back. Go back to what? I dare to say it. Pre-1960s, pre-civil rights era. That's a reality where we are at. And yet too many black people are fooled by integration. I mean, our brother Malcolm X, above me here, was greatly fearful, I should say, of integration. And Martin Luther King, I think it was in 1967 or 1968, he said he feared he brought his family, basically he feared he brought the black race into a house on fire. The house on fire being America on integration. Because truthfully, this is what we are seeing now. This year, it's not just about the elections. 4 years after George Floyd, what is truly the state of black people? It's not about me as an individual or professionally, how well I'm doing, etc. It means nothing. It's not about Dr. Vibe. It's not about, let's be honest. Let's look at our black celebrities. Yes, some of them have misbehaved. But see how easy it is to take down an R. Kelly or a P. Diddy, no matter the status as a billionaire. It's so easy to take them down. So our race, our rights, what we take for granted, it's on shaky grounds. It's on shaky grounds.
100,
That's really what I can say.
100%. So here's a question for you, and I don't know. It's an open-ended question, maybe hard for you to answer. Are Black Canadians, you feel, better off, the same, or worse off in the last 4 years after George Floyd? Because in the last few months, again, you mentioned it earlier, Supreme Court in the United States, diversity inclusion gone. like affirmative action gone, and so many things are like, it's like George Floyd never happened, and
Yes.
and also, were many companies really committed to it long term?
Well, yes, I will tell you this. The question comes down time and again to what are black people willing to do? I mean, too many of our black people, listen, the vast majority of black people are bystanders to the realities. They suffer and they complain. And yes, people can be upset at me all they want. You want to see black people really motivated, really engaged? Dr. Vibe, where are black people really motivated and engaged? Because let's be honest
Yeah,
here. You see
okay,
me
go
coming.
ahead, go ahead, go
You see
ahead.
me coming. You see me coming. Listen, let's be real right now. We're in 2024. 6 years ago, 1964, Martin Luther King was alive. Malcolm X was alive. Black people were able to do something that is fundamental in fighting in a capitalist society, which is called boycott. 6 years later, can someone actually tell me that black people are able to boycott anything? Are willing to boycott? H&M happened, you know, Monkey in the Jungle shirt versus Explorer, whatever. Where was the no? Black people can't boycott. Black people as a whole, yo, of course, black people are not a monolith. Where is the black leader, such as in the 60s? It's not about that. We're talking about a community. You really want to see black people engaged. You got to look at Sunday morning church time, and you got to look as happening right now. Sports, NBA finals,
Entertainment.
entertainment. We will go back and forth about Will Smith slaps and Jada Pinkett being crazy or whatever it is people want to call it. But are we really coming together to address the issues of the race and uplift and support our brothers and sisters in Haiti and Congo, just as in New Caledonia and West Papua? Are we really taking the time to read that 5 minutes education? Or we will spend hours scrolling up and down on news, our timeline for jokes and stuff. So if you ask, notably in terms of black Canadians, whether they are better off or not, okay, comparisons are dangerous because the realities are not exactly the same. There are similarities. First and foremost, I repeat it. If you want to compare the fate of black people in the Americas, Afro-Brazilians are the ones who have it worse. Don't look at African Americans. Afro-Brazilians are the ones who have it worse. That's one thing. We can talk about Afro-Colombians, Afro-Colombianos. We can talk about Afro-Argentines. They have it worse. They have it worse than blacks in Brazil, than blacks in the US, than blacks in Canada. In regards to blacks in Canada, is it better or worse? It's a bit difficult to say. I can't speak for all black people. I can say that yes, individually, some people are better off, absolutely. But as a community, are we necessarily better? I don't think so. I don't think so because, in terms of symbolism, we can notably celebrate having the Speaker of the House of Commons, Greg Fergus, being elected. Yes. But we cannot deny the controversies and the challenges, the lack of respect to his position. At the same time, when we look at the community as a whole, are we a richer community? Are we a safer community? I mean, the cases of police brutality are still there plenty. Addressing police just as addressing racism in healthcare and media is still strong topics. Dr. Vibe, I can't tell you that the black community in Canada, but US is better. Yes, there are individuals who are in better position, absolutely. But are we more respected as a community? No. Are we richer? No. Are we safer? No.
All right, I'm going to take this to I know we got a few minutes, hopefully got a few more minutes, but as I go on in this journey of my existence, we live in North America in a capitalistic, this is just me, a capitalistic democracy. Right? I measure people who look like us as a group. How have we moved ahead economically? I don't see improvement. And we live in a society, again, this is just my lens. Those who have economic strength have strength.
Well, let me give you a plain example here. We got a young sister from NCAA to WNBA. She didn't get as much attention as she should have. Angel Reese. I read about how she acquired ownership of a soccer team, if I'm correct. Although she's brand new in the WNBA, that's a beautiful move. But again, that's one individual. How are you going to explain to me? And I mean, I say this not to bash my brothers that I actually do respect because, I am a basketball fan. I mean, I have one of my hood jerseys right here with all the teams of the NBA. I am a basketball fan. Don't get me wrong. And I hope uh, Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves win tonight. I'm just saying that out there, But the issue is not about that. The issue is how can we explain that the National Basketball Association, aka NBA, has produced so many black millionaires, and yet how many basketball teams, a sport which in the NBA, aka America and the world, is overwhelmingly seen as a black sport. The NBA counts, if I'm correct, I think it's 85% black players. How many teams are owned by black people? This league, we have part owners. There are part owners, such as
Yeah, but we're
Jordan,
talking majority ownership.
majority owners, exactly. Uh, uh, how many teams are owned by black people? That is absolutely that's a terrible statistics. That's a terrible statistic when we are truly honest about it. And I might be wrong. I did a quick search. Apparently, it might be as of January 2023. I think it says 72%. I genuinely thought it was higher than that. 72%. But yeah, you have so many millionaires, and you don't have, unless I'm wrong. I'm thinking maybe Charlotte has Michael Jordan as majority owner, but I cannot say for sure.
I don't know how much ownership he still has in that franchise. But I'll ask. I'll put another fact out here.
So
I'll go there. I think I'll go there with this. And it wasn't me. It said another commentator who I listen to regularly said he has a real concern because he knows that many an African parent will invest in their kids to do sports, this and other thing, but they spend more energy and finances investing in those things, like investing in their kids being in volleyball, this and that. Because at the end of the road, what percentage of young African people make it to the professional level, to make it like an NBA, to make it like an NFL, right? But he also said, though, how come many of those same parents aren't investing in education for their young people?
100%. It's something my own father had told me then when I was competing, notably in martial arts. And yes, I got to represent Canada, so I can always say I made it as far as I could. One of my gold medals. One of my gold medals is actually right here. That's one of my gold medals. Kickboxing World Championship. No, this is national national championship, a gold medal.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. From the year 2000, 24 years ago. But
You know,
I
like
mean,
I look at it,
how many make it?
but and so you know, and I go back to saying that, and we're gonna end soon because your friend is back. When I look, if we're better now before George Floyd, I don't think we are. Really, you know what? Like just the fact that many programs that were launched
Yes, yes, yes.
are now gone.
Yes.
Right?
No, that's a
Many people who look like us in Canada got money from the Canadian government who are now and not I talked to some of there are fretting because they got to give that money back.
not only they gotta get that money back, but there's also concern for many black people in terms of the Canadian federal elections of next year, which may or may not, but which may see um, a conservative government coming to power. And the conservative, they don't recognize systemic racism, and as such, you can easily imagine that the impact it could have, notably on black progress in regards to society. And it's not just a matter of money; it's a matter of progress as a whole. So, no, when you look at that measure in terms of programs, and that's why I say time and again, our progress should not be based upon which government is in place. As I was saying, it's not about Biden or Trump. It's about the strength of our community. The strength of our community must be independent of whichever white face is in power. Because at the same time, we can't keep pointing fingers at white people without addressing ourselves. Like white people didn't choose to be born white. This is something I teach very honestly. I do not do I do not conference, I do not train, uh I do not delve into white shame or white guilt because of the whiteness. I'm here as a Pan-Africanist to uplift our community. Those who understand it, and by those, I mean including non-blacks, they choose to contribute, they choose to stand up, they choose to act. But far too many of us fool themselves into the illusion of integration. And that's really what I mean. The illusion of integration.
One of my longtime digital associates, I haven't heard from him in a while, named VU, calls this the illusion of inclusion.
So that and
Right?
that's why I don't teach. I give you a little hint to what I teach, Dr. Vibe. EDI, equity, diversity, inclusion. I do not teach inclusion. I teach inclusivity. I invite people to look up the difference between inclusion and inclusivity. It's a fundamental difference. It's one of those light bulb moments. It sounds the same. It's like when people speak, the difference between systematic and systemic. It sounds the same, but it's fundamentally different. I don't teach inclusion. I teach inclusivity.
Okay. Well, before we let Cesar go, we'll mark this date, Sunday, May 26, 2024. We may have to go back to this refer to this conversation about a year and a half, 2 years time, because can you imagine North Americans if their 45 is elected back as president in the United States and the Progressive Conservative Party is elected to rule in this country? What are we going to do then?
Remember what I said. If white European Christians and white Arab Muslims decided to recolonize and or re-enslave Africa, black people, what could we really do? Ultimately, it's about us. The strength of our families, the strength of our communities, the strength of our nations, the strength of our continent. Our strength.
Yeah, it all starts with us.
That's
It
what
all
it's
it all starts, and I love how you put there the strength of the family. That's a whole other conversation, though. That's a whole other conversation because people know me now. I say the strength of people that look like us, it starts at the family. If the family's not good, the rest of it ain't good. Rest of it ain't good. 100%. Cesar, as always, want to thank you for taking the most valuable thing you have, your time to share with us today. As always, if you want to get in touch with Cesar, president at rootsandculturecanada.com, Facebook, Cesar Ndema-Moussa. I've also shared his contact information on whatever platforms in the comment section. Cesar, what is upcoming for you in the near future? Anything we need to know about?
Allow me to give a shout out to a brother in the U.S., Brother Malachi Gross. He addresses religion in the Black community in the U.S. And as you know, Dr. Vibe, I'm notably taught in regards to religious trauma studies. My presentation on Black religious trauma is very successful. And this brother, Malachi Gross, look him up on YouTube, Malachi space Gross, good content. He has reached out to me and he'd like to give me an interview to address basically what I present on for the international certification.
Nice.
The international certification, which is recognized by the American Psychological Association.
Nice.
Accredited courses. So he'd like to give me an interview to address Black religious trauma. So this is something
excited.
I'm very honored for this brother.
Yeah, when that gets released, please share it with me so I can share it with the family here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, I can tell by when you wave like this, the boss of the house is in. So I'm gonna let you go. Yeah, so I'm gonna let you go. As always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. We'll chat soon.
Thank you, Dr. Vibe. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for tolerating my audio, but glad we got it worked out today.
Thank you so much.
Take care. All right, everybody. There is Cesar's contact information, email address, Facebook, as always. As always, let's close it out. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Always follow me and like me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And also to advertise your business product or show or business product or service on the platform, feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. You can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and at my website, the drvibeshow.com. And if you want to get in touch with me, website, the drvibeshow, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, the space, dr period space, vibe space, show, X/Twitter, which is interesting because people watching the show on Twitter these days, which is interesting, at drvibeshow, and Instagram at the drvibeshow, and then email address dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. So let's shut it down. As always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect, and just don't manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. We'll chat with you soon. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith and walk good.